Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lou. I do a little bit of lifestyle content as well as talking about my career as a registered dietitian. As you can see by the title of this video, we're going to be discussing what an RD/nutritionist does for a living. If you clicked on this video, that means somebody that you know, or maybe you yourself are interested in a career in dietetics/nutrition. So in this video, I want to discuss some of the career paths that would be an option for you if you do decide to become a dietitian or a nutritionist. And if you have questions on how to become a dietitian or a nutritionist, I have a video on that, so be sure to click on that to learn some more information. So first things first, let's talk about the career paths that we discuss mainly in school. So when you're in your dietetic internship or you're in your didactic program for dietetics, you will learn about these three main pathways. Number one would be community, number two would be clinical, and the third one is food service. Now, under those umbrellas, there are different types of things that those RDs do, so we'll talk about that specifically. So to start, a clinical RD. If you are a clinical RD, you either work in a long-term care facility or you work in the hospital setting, or there are other options that you could pursue as a clinical RD. But mainly, if we say you're a clinical RD, you're more than likely working in the acute care setting or the long-term care setting. So with an acute care registered dietitian, what you're doing is you're usually consulting patients based off of different conditions, whether or not the patient comes in with diabetes, whether they come in with some type of heart condition, whether they come in with COPD. You're consulting that patient based off of like their nutrition needs. So you come in, you usually get a consult from either the doctor or another nurse that has seen this patient and they think that the dietitian should talk to this patient. So you go in, you see them, you consult them based off of those conditions. Some other things that the NRD does is making sure that the diet that the patient has is accurate. For example, if someone is diagnosed with diabetes, they're usually on some type of carb control diet. So the RD would go into their clinical EMR or EHR system to make sure that they're getting the accurate diet. The other thing an RD does in the acute care setting would be also making sure that the enteral feeding or parenteral feeding nutrition for the patient is accurate. That goes into a lot more information, but they're doing the calculations to ensure it's accurate. RDs are also doing nutrition-focused physical exams on patients in clinical settings. So a lot of like clinical aspects. So kind of what you would think an RN does in a sense, not completely. An RD operates in a very clinical role in an acute care setting. So other than a clinical RD, you can also be a community registered dietitian/nutritionist. Now, for a community registered dietitian/nutritionist, that really looks like someone who works with WIC, works with SNAP, works with the government, or works in a nonprofit setting. It could be working with the USDA, working with the FDA. So community RDs really focus on a lot of like implementation of like a lot of government programs, or they're working on the policy end. Now, a community RD in the WIC setting, for example, on a day-to-day, they're seeing WIC clients coming in, they're consulting them, they're doing their exams for the baby as well as for the mother. They're giving them education on maternal and child nutrition. They're also making sure that they're getting the accurate grocery distribution for their category. Now, the last one that you learn a lot about in school is food service. So a food service dietitian usually works in a hospital setting or a school. So think of a setting that has a large cafeteria, which requires casting for large groups of people. So the food service RD is buying wholesale groceries, planning meal calendars, ensuring that they're forecasting, converting recipes for large quantities, a lot of things like that. And they're also being kept up to date, or they're keeping up to date with a lot of audits that are required for food service RDs. So that's working kind of behind the scenes. If you love like the production, working with a lot of different entities, that would be a great career path. In addition to the community, the clinical, and the food service, we have the corporate RD. Now, this is something that I wasn't aware of when I was in school, but I want to shed light on what that looks like. A corporate RD usually works for a corporation of some sort, whether they're doing wellness initiatives for that corporation, meaning that they are promoting nutrition within the employees that work at that institution, or they work in that corporation in the capacity of giving nutrition counsel for specific brands, for specific launches, things like that. So when you think of any like big food brand, behind that brand, you'll probably have some type of RD or RD working in a capacity because they need to know the nutrition information that's being shared is accurate. And they're also ensuring like if there are certain limits or limitations with certain food products that they need to achieve, an RD would help and assist with that. And lastly, the career path that I want to talk about is the RD entrepreneur. As I was in school, I learned that a lot of RDs had different side hustles, and that is very common to the registered dietitian nutrition field. And that is because there are a lot of different pathways you can go down. Number one, I would say one of the things that has become more popular would be an influencer RD, meaning that you're an RD that shares recipes or shares the information that you learn with other people. You give people advice on nutrition on social media, things like that. Another aspect of an RD entrepreneur will be private practice. It's a big one. So you own a private practice, you're a generalist, or you see a specific subset group such as PCOS clients, you see diabetes, or you focus on bariatric. That would be your RD entrepreneur in private practice. So some other pathways as an RD entrepreneur would also be becoming a chef. That is something that's popular. So you're combining your education as an RD or a nutritionist with your love for food and giving people new recipes, creative ideas to either serve a specific need with that recipe, whether it's for clinical reasons or for just preference. Another RD entrepreneur pathway that you can look into is becoming a lactation consultant. When you're a lactation consultant, a lot of it flows into food related and it's also child nutrition related. I see a lot of RDs combining those two career paths, which is a way to be an entrepreneur. And then lastly, I would say becoming a recipe consultant. Like you'll see different restaurants might be hiring for RDs, wanting to think of different creative ways to enhance their menu or to serve a specific purpose with their menu. So that is another pathway you can look into. And when you're becoming an RD, I will say when becoming an RD, the opportunities are endless. If you want to become an entrepreneur, but you're not sure what pathway that looks like, look into becoming a registered dietitian / nutritionist and then selling that skill set to people in different arenas. I definitely think it's something that you should look into. And if you have any questions, I really do want to do a video talking about questions that you might have for an RD. So please leave your questions below and we'll definitely be sure to record another video to address those questions. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video.